Hello, YouTube model railroader fans, model railroading live fans as well. Welcome to the Boeville and Newtown vlog number 8 for 2020. That happens to be Thursday, February the 20th, 2020. Not much has been going on. Not this week. It's been a little busy. As I'm sure some of you saw that I had put up a post. Actually, I put it up as a part of vlog 7, or at least in the comments when I posted the video. Part of my weekend was actually taken up by watching the Daytona 500, or at least trying to, considering it got rained out. And then we finished watching it on Monday. And I've always been a fan of the Rocket Man, Ryan Newman, and I'm glad that he's home and doing much better. You know, that NASCAR kind of kept us on pins and needles there for a little bit, and sorry if I'm a little off track, but that kind of explains that there's really only 2 sports that I pay attention to anymore, and that's NASCAR and bowling, and that's it. The rest of it I have no use for. Anyway, different subject, different time, different topic. But I was in the chat room last night during and sorry if this is shaking a little bit. I'm actually using the pole because I've got something else going on. Using the single-legged camera holder instead of the tripod. I'll explain that here in a second. But anyway, I was on in the chat last night during the last segment of Big Bill's Bigger Isn't Necessarily Better, and I'm going to be. I think I've already mentioned this once or twice, but I'm just going to come out and say it one more time. By no means am I offended by anything. Trust me. With all the help and comments and just support over the last, almost going on 6 years now that I've been a part of either YouTube Model Builders or, watching the Model Railroading live. I have never, ever felt like anybody was telling me that I'm doing it wrong, you should do it this way, anything like that. That's not our group. And I mentioned that in the chat room last night. You know, that's one of the things that I think makes us very unique. It's one of the things that makes us as big as we are. And that's the fact that there is nobody sitting there pointing fingers saying you're doing it the wrong way, you're doing this, you're doing that. It's more or less, hey, that looks great, but have you thought about doing it this way? Hey, have you thought about doing it that way? And, to let everybody know, yeah, I know, it looks like, and I think I mentioned this in the last vlog, and I mentioned it again last night, yeah, this thing has taken off a lot faster than what I expected. I do come down here just about every night, and I come down the steps and I look at this thing and go, what in the heck was I thinking? However, I also know that I have wanted to do this now for about 30 years. And I've made mistakes along the way. I've fiddled, I've futzed, I've played, and I've mentioned it again. You know, I had that little N-gauge test bed layout that I messed with for a while. And I felt as though I was ready to take something like this on. This is a major undertaking. And Andy and Big Bill and Ralph and Miles and Bill Baronic, yeah, you're right. When you get into something like this, it's daunting. It is. But and at the end of the day, if it's what you're looking for, and trust me, if I would have stayed at the old house, this is kind of what it would have morphed into. It would have been a lot smaller, obviously. Well, I shouldn't say it would have been smaller. That space was square. This is long, and it looks a lot bigger. Actually, I shouldn't say it looks a lot bigger. It is a lot bigger in person. However, with it being a 2-track main, it's going to be, I think, fairly manageable from a maintenance standpoint. The biggest thing is, and we've mentioned it off and on, and even Big Bill and company have mentioned it as well, Now's the time to work out the kinks. Before you sit there and start putting up scenery and things of that nature, you have to work out the kinks. And that's the process. That's where I'm at now. Besides trying to get the electric to the railroad, which I still haven't gotten yet, I'm hoping that'll happen this weekend. You know, that's what I've been saying. Yeah, it looks like there's an awful lot been done on top. There has. But there's still a heck of a lot that needs to be done underneath. And I mean a heck of a lot. So, you know, I'll admit it, I was kind of in a hurry to see a train run. I really was. I had that goal in mind, you know, that I wanted to have a train running by Christmas. That didn't happen. I was about 4 days short. But, well, I had a locomotive. I shouldn't say train. I wanted to have something going by Christmas, and I did. It didn't work out right, but I did. And it showed me that, you know, I've got to go back and fix stuff. I needed to tweak things. But that's the whole point. You know, when you go ahead and you take something like this on, you're going to have issues. You're going to have compromises. You're going to have to fix things. You know, like you already know, I had to flip the hidden yards around because they were backwards. You know, but those are the types of things that to find out now before you start gluing and nailing and everything else, getting everything in place, and then going back and go, now I got to rip half of this back apart because it's not right. So, with that being said, I'm going to move the camera here so you guys can, you're going to see me for a little bit, but I'm going to just kind of walk around here a little bit and just give you all a kind of a bird's eye, I guess, of what's been, where I'm at and what's going on. And yeah, that's the old farm. That came from the original Boeville in Newtown when my father was still alive. He's the one that came up with that green area there. And I just kind of stuck it up there to see if it would work. And well, it looks like it might work. But it's kind of neat to see that my farm area is actually going to be bigger than what it had been in the past, which is fine. That's great because, you know, that's part of the reason why it's bigger. But, you know, out here on the visible part of the layout, or what will be the visible part of the layout, still trying to figure out what to do with this. Not sure if I'm going to leave it or how I'm going to do this yet. I've actually had a couple of ideas. I'm not going to mention them here because I want them to kind of be for future workings. Still have to kind of mess with this a little bit. And I do have some freight cars sitting back there. I kind of started staging some stuff. Oh, by the way, talking about staging, I've got a couple of ore cars and hopper cars sitting up there and a locomotive sitting there, which none of that's actually active yet. I'm still not sure what I'm doing with this yet. Talk about tweaking. And here another tweak. The hill here, I happened to go back and look, and I found the old part of Wykert Hill, which, if you remember, was over top the old staging tracks on the old layout, and found out that my height is about the same, which is good. But on the way home from work tonight, I had a brainstorm, which was more or less a drizzle. But I've got something I'm going to do with this. Now, another thing that's still kind of a point of contention with me is this neat little depression that I put in, which I guess to a point is not working out the way I originally thought. And I'm debating as to whether it's going to stay this way. I shouldn't say stay this way. It's not going to stay that way. As to whether I'm actually going to make that into some sort of like a river scene, or if I'm going to make it into like a highway overpass. I'm not sure which way to go on that yet. That's scenery, that's way down the line anyways. I have to have the bridges in place to be able to get across the divide or across the gorge, but you know, obviously the switches here that lead into the yard tracks. I've got some locomotives just sitting off to the side because I haven't actually put the roundhouse permanently in place yet because I have to work on it. And I figured before I start nailing down track around it, I might as well go ahead and take it apart and see if I can get it to work correctly this time before I actually put it into the layout. I've staged a few cars in Boeville. Again, these have already been tested to make sure that they're within standard. At least as far as couplers and wheels and things of that nature go. They're not to weight yet. That's one of the things that'll be coming up eventually, because I do want to start weighting everything down to make it go standard. Obviously our tracks that'll be underneath a Boeville, which I haven't done anything with that yet because I was waiting for my hand to heal. And then of course we go, you know, now down the non-visible portion of the layout. This here will all be hidden by backdrop and such to what will be the hidden yards. Now the hidden yards, I did order up some parts. They should be here next week. I ordered myself up some more, yeah. Oh, I'm having a brain freeze. Some more connecting pieces for the rails and my my other two 19-degree crossings, and I'm in the dark. Well, that's why they call me a mushroom. I'm fed crap and kept in the dark. Anyway, speaking of the hand, no brace, no nothing tonight. So the day was the first day that I could actually take it off for any length of time, other than when I was in bed. So I'm going to give it a test tonight and see how things go. But I'm not done with this video. Oh, the reason why I'm not using the tripod is because the tripod, if it'll zoom, is back there with a webcam. That's because I'm going to try and get on Johnny's live show tonight. So look for me. Well, of course you're not going to see this until after the fact, but I'm going to try and get on there for a little bit. So anywho, I'm going to stop right here. We'll go ahead, and if something else comes up or if I do some other things, it'll be a part of this vlog, and we'll end it with that, but we'll be back. All right, YouTube auto builders and model railroading live, I'm back. It's now Saturday, February 22nd, and the reason why we're where we're at, I'm going to try and fix this a little bit. As you can see, we're over in the town of Boeville area, and the reason being is that I got two more of my 19-degree crossings, which I needed. Now, the issue is, if you notice, this is Atlas's product number 572. And if you notice, this is a very nice looking, to me, for what I want, a very nice looking crossover. There's no plastic here in the middle. It's fairly prototypical looking. Which is not what exactly is on the layout right now. And I don't know if I can zoom this in from where I'm standing so that you can really see what I'm talking about. Probably not. Anyway, right here, if you notice this one, and I forgot what the number is on this, this is also an Atlas unit, but it's solid in the center, so it doesn't look as nice. So what we're going to do is, this is coming out, this one's going in, and this is going to end up back in the hidden yard. So that's the reason why we're over here right now. I gotta zoom this back out. Yay! There he is. So give me a few minutes, and because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to replace both of these, and once I'm done, I'm going to take the rest of the parts, and we're going to go back on the back side of the layout and start working on the hidden yard. So that's what's coming. All right, now that I've got the old one off, or one of the old ones off, and I've got one of the new ones to put side by side with it, you can get a better idea as to what I was talking about. This one's the new one. This is the one that just came off. And you can see, I mean, they're the same size, but this one here looks a lot more prototypical. It doesn't have that solid diamond in the middle. So this will be out where it can be seen. This will be back in the hidden area. So continuing on. Alright, so now we're down here in the hidden yard area, and I'm going to go ahead and put down some more track. So, obviously, first thing needs to happen, and you guys can laugh and jeer and everything else at this, but it's just my way of being able to see what the heck it is that I'm doing, because there's just not enough light. And I think I've mentioned that a few times down here, but it is what it is. So I just have to grin and bear it and move on. So I just wear this optical thing that's got lights on it, so I can actually see what the heck it is that I'm doing. Not that I know what I'm doing, but at least I can see what I'm doing. Now this here should be pretty much loose. There we go. Except for that one. Alright. Now, pull out one of the pieces here. Let's see if I've actually got this thing lined up correctly. Which, for the most part, it appears that it is. That's always a good thing. Test fit. And the fit seems pretty good. So, also helps me to see what it is that I'm doing. These things are always a little ticklish to get in place. If anybody's ever messed with them before, and if you haven't, I'll try to explain what I mean by ticklish. Down on the other end was really tough. Well, I shouldn't say tough. It was a little like this one here was a little ticklish. And what I mean by that is the fact that you've got 4 points here, and then of course over here, right now I've only got the other 2 points for this route here. But on the ones down there, all four lines were attached, which made it very interesting trying to get, that's too loose, that's garbage. Made it very interesting trying to get the crossover in place, because you don't have a real way of sneaking it in without having to pull up quite a bit of stuff. And I think I just went ahead and did exactly what I didn't want to do and pulled up some stuff that I didn't have disconnected or despiked. And of course, everybody's probably going, why did you put all those spikes in place? Well, I was trying to, with the foam here, trying to keep the tracks somewhat in place until I actually get a chance to get the roadbed and start gluing them down. No, I haven't gotten my roadbed yet. That's interesting. Okay. No, I haven't gotten my roadbed yet. So I'm still dealing with the idiosyncrasies of this. So anyway, we now have our crossover in place. And I think that this will give everybody a little bit better understanding, at least to start off, and of course I'll explain more here in a minute, about how this works. Now, obviously, one of these is northbound. I'm going to turn this off before I kill the batteries. This is north, or I'm sorry, this is north, this is south. So the train that's here, well, I goofed up again. Wait a minute. Take 3. Or did I? No, I was right. Okay. This train here is the one that's coming from Richmond. So you've only got the one way in. Off of this, there will be 3 switches that'll sit off of this, and the yard will sit over here. And those 3 yard tracks are so that you can pre-stage 3 separate trains that are going to go north from Richmond. That'll go straight out here and follow the tracks all the way up to what will be Harrisburg Yard, which will occupy this position. Like I was saying the other week, you know, when my buddy Big John was over here, we realized that I actually had this whole thing flipped, which wasn't going to work because you want only one way in and you want multiple ways out, because otherwise the guys that are working these yards, they'd have to be like that trying to get another train out. This way, they've got 3 of them built. The dispatcher tells them which one's leaving. That one leaves, they can go into the underneath, pull out the next train that has to leave, or the next train, and build up the next train that's going to be set to leave at some determinate point down the line. You know, whatever that schedule is going to be. Get into more of that once this thing actually gets to a point where it's operational. And you'll see what I'm really getting into when I start talking about wanting to make this thing operational, and that's part of it. These 2 yards are a huge part of simulating a bridge route, which is what this thing is. This railroad is a bridge route. It's called the Boeville Newtown because down here is Boeville and over here is Newtown. That's the scenic part of the layout. That's what you see. What you don't see is beyond the layout and what's going to be sitting here and what's going to be sitting over here, and the industries, quote unquote, that those 2 areas are in, or that those 2 areas will take care of. It's like I was explaining to Big John last night after bowling. You know, I'm still debating, and I'm still sleeping on this whole switchback over here. We'll get to that later, maybe on the next vlog. That may be a part of vlog 9, or stay tuned, it may be a part of something completely different. We'll see. Anyway, I've been thinking about that in a different way, but we won't get into that. We'll let that slide for the next video, the next vlog, or the other thing that I'm thinking about doing. But at any rate, so you know, you're going to have passenger trains. You're going to have local freight trains. You're also going to have what I'm going to consider as being express or through freight. Through freights are exactly what they say. There is a coal mine that sits off of Harrisburg, not in Harrisburg, but off of Harrisburg, goes to the Harrisburg yard. That Harrisburg yard is now going to send that coal train across the layout to Richmond to go ahead and feed its coal power plant. When those cars leave Harrisburg, they're full. And if anybody has seen one of the things that David Pop did an article on or a video on, it's something that I'm going to do at some point. He made removable coal loads for his coal cars by putting a washer into a piece of resin, or going ahead and making resin molds of the coal cars, the inside of them, putting a washer, a magnetic washer inside of it, and then taking a magnet and being able to pull them out. So when a coal car leaves the Harrisburg yard and starts heading, or leaves the Harrisburg yard and starts heading south, across the layout and gets to Richmond, the guy in Richmond goes and pulls all those inserts out, turns around, hands them to the guy at the Harrisburg yard so that the next coal train that leaves can be filled back up. Now, when that train leaves, guess what happens when that train leaves Richmond the next time? All those coal cars are empty as they go back north. Go back north to Harrisburg. That's how that's going to work. So I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this here because, to be honest, I think this video is probably going to be about 30 minutes long, and it's long enough already. So you all know the deal. You wait for the highball. Green tracks ahead. Stay tuned for something exciting coming. Be safe. God bless. We'll see ya. Oh, stop.